This is Nakamichi Spoken Here. From Carl Place, New York, this is Haran K. Appleman, welcoming you to our Summer 1978 News Cassette. Summer is around the corner, and once again it's time for audio shows. This year we have the Atlanta IHF show in addition to the CES in Chicago. By the time you hear this cassette, most of you would know that we are not attending the Atlanta show. But we will be at the CES again this year, only this time we'll be at McCormick Inn rather than the Bismarck Hotel. Invitations will be sent out during the month of May, so you'll know exactly where to find us. Before the onslaught of these upcoming shows, this seems like a good time to go over the new products we introduced most recently. Earlier this year, in late March and early April, a few of us here at Nakamichi, including yours truly, took a trip around the country for the purpose of introducing 3 new products: the new 600 Mark II cassette console, the 730 receiver, and the T100 audio analyzer. Flying in our own prop jet, Nakamichi 1, we covered 22 cities in less than 2 weeks, and obviously I'm still alive to tell about it. We had excellent attendance at these local shows, and those of you who were able to attend one of our presentations, who saw the slideshow and heard my talk, are now undoubtedly total experts on our new products. But for those of you who were unable to attend, or did attend but slept through my presentation, I'll review the most prominent features of these 3 new products. The 600 Mark II is the first 2-head cassette deck to incorporate our phenomenal superhead. You probably already know from the 1000 Mark II and 700 Mark II that the superhead is made of Nakamichi crystalloy and features unique surface cutouts that promote extremely even wear. This, coupled with our deep gap design, gives the superhead an unprecedented 10,000 hours of useful life. But the most important thing about the superhead is what it does for the performance of the 600 Mark II. Those of you who have already seen the brochure or press releases know that the new frequency response specification for the 600 Mark II is now 35 to 20,000 Hz, plus or minus 3 dB, for either SX or EX2 tape. We are able to achieve this extraordinary performance with a 2-head deck thanks to totally new magnetic technology, which includes development of new magnetic materials used in the core and gap, development of new manufacturing techniques that absolutely minimize molecular deformation of the core material, and, in fact, development of new theories governing the entire magnetic recording process, because existing theories do not begin to explain some of the capabilities of the superhead. The superhead in the 600 Mark II utilizes an extremely narrow 0.9 micron gap. I can already hear our Norwegian friends loudly protesting, No, you can't record effectively with such a narrow gap." But we do, and we do it quite well. By eliminating the saturation that would take place if you tried to record with a conventional narrow gap head, we have effectively taken the compromise out of 2-head recording. You might almost say that, aside from the ability to monitor, there is no reason to have 3 heads any longer. Of course, this isn't quite true, and just for your information, you ought to know that we are changing the frequency response specification for our 3-head decks to read 35 to 22,000 Hz, plus or minus 3 dB, just so you have a quick difference you can point to on the respective spec sheets. You see, our 3-head decks, ever since we switched over to the Mark II series, have gone out flat to 22 kHz very easily. It's just that before the 600 Mark II came along, we really didn't have a good reason to change the specification. So, the Nakamichi 600 Mark II becomes the first 2-head cassette deck in history to offer flat response to 20 kHz. It's important to note, though, that the extended high end does not come at any sacrifice in any of the other critical parameters, such as distortion or signal-to-noise ratio. The performance in these areas remain the same as in the original 600. The superhead is responsible for another important improvement that is not reflected in the specifications, and that is high-frequency headroom. With the 600 Mark II, you can record more high-frequency information at higher levels than possible ever before. If you look at the frequency response curves in the 600 Mark II brochure, you'll note that not only do you have extended frequency response at the standard minus 20 dB test level, but that record play response is remarkably extended and flat at higher record levels, like minus 10 dB and even 0 dB. At minus 10 dB record level, response is flat out to beyond 15 kHz. This is unusual performance, not just for a two-head cassette deck, but for any cassette deck. It's this improvement in headroom that has enabled us to eliminate the IM suppressor from the new 600 Mark II. In retrospect, the IM suppressor was rather short-lived, and since it's really a novel circuit, we'd love to keep it on the 600 Mark II. But the superhead is so good that it's hard to justify adding the feature from the standpoint of benefit versus cost. Other new features include a new dust cover that fits into the cassette lid rather than over the entire unit. This new dust cover is easily removable for regular maintenance of the heads, etc. Older 600s can be fitted with this new dust cover, but the entire cassette lid door has to be replaced, which involves removal of the transport. If you have a customer with the original 600 who wants the new dust cover, check with our service department in Santa Monica for parts, cost, and availability. Also new on the 600 Mark II is a headphone output jack providing 300 milliwatts per channel maximum power into 8-ohm stereophones. You've also undoubtedly noticed the new calibration knobs on the front panel, which replace the screwdriver adjustments of the original 600. The 600 Mark II has two test tones, the 400 Hz tone as usual for record level calibration, and a new 10 kHz tone, which is recorded onto the tape at a level of minus 8 dB for fine adjustment of bias. The various adjustment procedures are clearly outlined in the 600 Mark II owner's manual. The transport, too, boasts a number of subtle refinements like smoother operating buttons, spring-loaded reel spindles, and things like the ability to depress the record and play buttons simultaneously. On the older 600, you had to press the record first and then the play to get the deck to go into the record mode. The 600 Mark II, of course, retains many of the features that made the 600 so great. External dimensions are identical, with the human-engineered, sloped panel design made famous by the original 600. Internally, the 600 Mark II carries on the tradition with sophisticated low-noise, low-distortion electronics, fully phase-corrected to maintain record playback phase angle to within 30 degrees over the entire audio band. The peak reading meters, as before, are fast, accurate, and provide readings of signal over a 47 dB dynamic range. All in all, I think you'd agree that the 600 Mark II sets new standards of performance for two-head cassette decks. These days, you can buy a three-head cassette deck for less than half the price of the 600 Mark II. A quick look at the specs, and above all, a listening test should prove to the skeptical customer, the type worried about the number of heads, motors, and flashing lights, that from the standpoint of performance and sonic excellence, if you spend less than you would for the 600 Mark II, you get less. One of the ways you can demonstrate the difference between our decks and others is by using the new Nakamichi T100 audio analyzer. How's that for a segue? Although the T100 can be used to verify the performance of a wide range of audio components, it was basically conceived as a tape deck analyzer. The T100, in fact, is everything you need to set up a tape deck. It combines test functions normally associated with 3 or 4 separate pieces of much more expensive, bulkier, and more complicated test equipment. A close look at the T100's front panel shows you the capabilities of the unit. It has a built-in audio oscillator with 21 spot frequencies from 20 to 20,000 Hz. There is also a wideband pink noise generator for a variety of subjective component tests. The function control selects the mode of operation. First, the T100 is an accurate speed and wow flutter meter. You have a choice of unweighted and din peak weighted measurements. Next, the T100 can be used as a distortion analyzer, giving readings of level versus total harmonic distortion simultaneously for a 400 Hz signal. The distortion analyzer is simple to use, as there are no elaborate level setting or nulling procedures required. The THD residual is under 0.01% for the built-in 400 Hz signal. The rightmost positions of the function selector enable you to make various level measurements with the T100. For steady-state signals, the T100 is an accurate AC voltmeter, giving you readings for both channels simultaneously in volts or dB. As a level meter, the T100 gives you a choice of display ballistics, either average, which make the display act as VU meters with a 0.3 second rise and fall time, or peak, with a blazing 10 millisecond rise time coupled with a leisurely 2-second decay time, which makes peak signal readings accurate and easy to follow with the eye. You can make level measurements over 110 dB dynamic range. That's from minus 80 to plus 30 dB, taking a 1 volt input to be 0 dB reference. The T100 also provides a special noise measurement position, so you can measure wideband noise with a weighting down as low as 10 microvolts. The display system on the T100 is rather new on the audio scene. It is a plasma display panel, also known as a bar graph display, and it works on the gas discharge principle. It has no moving parts, and the display itself has effectively no mass, which means there is no inertia involved. Readings, as a result, are extremely accurate, even on transient signals, with no overshoot or undershoot, as with conventional meter movements. Other internal features include digital circuit technology, such as IC logic control with FET analog switching, which keeps all of the switching functions right at the respective circuit boards. Construction, as a result, is modular, which helps to keep the total package remarkably compact. In addition to tape decks, the T100 can be used to measure preamplifiers, power amplifiers, turntables, cartridges, microphones, loudspeakers, and other components. The owner's manual for the T100 is unusually comprehensive. It explains in detail all the various procedures. With it, even someone who's never used test equipment before can follow the step-by-step instructions and perform a wide range of measurements on his system. The T100 uses standard RCA input and output connectors so that it can be easily hooked up to home components. In fact, we expect the T100 to be a semi-permanent installation in many advanced home systems. Aside from its many analytical test bench functions, the T100 is ideal as a continuous program-level indicator. With the watt scale graticule in place, the T100 becomes a power level indicator, either peak or average reading, depending on the function selector setting. All one has to do is connect it in parallel with the loudspeakers. Of course, we expect many professional users to go for it too. Service departments, recording studios, and testing labs are all likely candidates for the T100. In fact, since the T100 greatly simplifies tape deck adjustment, we are switching over to this unit in our own service department. It is clearly a powerful and versatile tool. Given its size and flexibility, the T100 is the first and only test instrument of its kind on the market. Most of you have seen the 730 receiver by this time, and you know that actually seeing and touching the 730 does infinitely more than all the verbal explanation in the world can accomplish. But there's so much more to the 730 than its unusual physical appearance and features that I want to spend a few minutes going over some of the finer points. As you might expect, internally, the 730 incorporates much of the advanced technology we developed for our separate components. Basically, give or take a few features and a few dB here and there, the 730 is the 410 preamplifier, the 430 tuner, and the 620 power amp, all in one package and for less money than one would be paying for the three pieces separately. Additionally, the 730 boasts features that are unique to it, making it all in all a very attractive product. Even a hardcore separate component addict like myself, I must admit, would have to think long and heavy before ruling out the 730 as just another fancy receiver. If you've looked inside the 730, you know the degree of complexity involved. There is no other receiver quite like it. But construction is modular, with all circuit cards and major components readily accessible. The power supply is housed in a separate subchassis, which shields it from the rest of the circuitry. The power supply, in fact, contributes the major portion of the 730's weight, and anybody who's tried to pick up a 730 knows that it is not lightweight by any stretch of the imagination. The large toroidal core transformer was specially designed for us in a flat configuration, as were the two 15,000 microfarad capacitors. The point here, as I think you can see, is that there have been no sacrifices made in power supply capacity because of the low-profile design of the 730. And you can tell from the output rating of the 730's power amplifier section, namely 105 watts per channel into 8 ohms, both channels driven, from 5 to 20,000 hertz with less than 0.02% total harmonic distortion. The power amp, as I mentioned earlier, is basically the same as the 620. It is extremely efficient, both in terms of space requirement and heat dissipation. The power amp circuit boards are mounted on aluminum power blocks, as in the 620, which ensures high thermal stability and efficient heat transfer to the heat sinks. The circuit itself is pure complementary symmetry Class B, with low idling current and low negative feedback. As in the 620, the 730 power amp section provides freedom from crossover notch distortion, normally associated only with inefficient Class A amplifiers. And yet, you'll notice that the heat sinks along the left side of the 730 stay cool to the touch in normal use, even if it's left on 24 hours a day. The tuner section of the 730, though, is probably its single most impressive feature. The tuning system is DC servo motor driven, with a unique feedback system which guarantees super accurate tuning and total freedom from the effects of station drift. When you touch one of the tuning sensors, the dial pointer will go off scanning in the direction you've selected and come to rest at the first available station. But it doesn't just stop at the station. If you look carefully, you'll notice that for a split second before it comes to rest, it actually searches out the exact center of the station. When the green lights on both sides of the pointer come on, it means that the tuner has locked onto the station. Once it's locked on, it is really locked on. So, even if the station drifts, and drifts badly, like let's say from one end of the dial to the other, the 730 tuning system will track that station and keep it dead centered no matter what. You can demonstrate this by hooking up an FM generator, like the Sound Technology 1000A, to the 730, letting the 730 lock onto your broadcast signal, and then moving the frequency control on the generator up and down. You'll see the 730's dial pointer move up and down, tracking the generator perfectly. The 730, of course, has memory tuning presets that enable the user to pre-program up to 4 most frequently listened to stations. The important thing to realize here is that the motor actually moves the main tuning capacitor and hence the dial pointer when one of the preset stations are selected. Most receivers providing memory presets use varactor diodes, which electrically replace the main tuning capacitor and cannot match the performance of a true multi-gang variable capacitor. In the 730's case, whether you are using the scanning mode or the preset memory mode, you are tuning with the same mechanism, and so there is no compromise in FM performance associated with the memory tuning feature. As far as performance of the tuner section as a whole, I think the specifications speak for themselves. Of course, we use the same advanced linear IF stage and phase-locked loop multiplex decoder that we employ in our 430 and 630 tuners. The preamplifier section of the 730 offers a combination of high performance and flexibility not readily found in receivers. The phono section, for example, employs Nakamichi's famous triple transistor first stage with a Class A push-pull output stage for extremely low noise and wide dynamic range. Signal-to-noise for phono is better than 83 dB reference to 2 millivolts, IHFA weighted, and 2 millivolts is the input sensitivity of the phono preamp. Overload is 120 millivolts for a distortion level of 0.1% at 1 kHz. Preamp functions provide 2 tape monitor loops with the ability to copy from one deck to the other without having to reconnect cables. The volume control on the 730, as you've undoubtedly noticed, is also unique. It is also DC servo motor driven. The motor simultaneously drives the volume potentiometer and the level display, which gives a visual indication of volume control setting. You can control the speed of the volume control. Depending on where you touch the volume sensors, you can raise or lower the volume rapidly or slowly. Also provided is an audio mute sensor. By touching the mute sensor, the user can instantaneously drop the volume by 14 dB for answering the phone or just for low-level listening. All of the front panel controls I've been talking about are touch sensors that work on the body capacitance principle. The 730 also incorporates MOS memory logic, which retains all of the touch sensor settings whenever the receiver is turned off. You'll notice that whenever you touch the power switch sensor to turn the 730 on, all functions such as program source, tape monitor, and FM station selection will be the same as the last time you had the receiver on. The 730, furthermore, uses 4 user-replaceable penlight batteries to power the MOS memory circuit when the main power is disconnected. The batteries last for about 2 years under normal use, and they ensure that all of the front panel control settings will be remembered even through a power failure. This also means that you can hook up the 730 to a timer and have it turn on automatically at a preset time with all of the functions at the desired settings. By the way, the 730 will signal when it's time to replace the batteries by flashing the power indicator light. There are a few manual controls on the 730 front panel. Aside from sliders for bass, treble, and balance, the 730 has a rather unusual volume preset control. This control actually combines 2 functions in one. To the left of center, it acts as a variable contour control, providing increasing amounts of loudness compensation as it lowers the volume. To the right of center, it acts as a straight level attenuator, a sort of a pre-volume control that lets the user preset the range over which the main motor-driven volume control will operate. Over on the far right is a threshold control. This control enables the user to set scanning sensitivity. By sliding it to its leftmost position, the tuner, when scanning, will stop only on the strong stations, rejecting the weaker and noisier stations. On the 730's rear panel, you'll find more useful features like a 20 dB antenna attenuator switch for unfortunates who happen to live too close to an FM broadcasting facility and risk overloading the front end of the tuner. There is also a record output level control, which enables one to match the record output of the receiver to the input sensitivity of various tape decks. And, of course, the 730 has pre-out main-end jacks, which are normally interconnected with jumpers. The jumpers can be easily removed should the owner want to add an external processing device, for example, an equalizer. Available sometime during the month of May, we hope, will be a wireless remote control for the 730. Some of you may have seen the prototype we had at our local shows. The remote control device will come in 2 sections, a transmitter section and a receiving section. The small receiving box has a cable which plugs into the rear of the 730. The receiving unit can be placed anywhere, but you have to have direct line of sight between the transmitter unit and the receiving unit. As long as you do, you can operate the 730 from over 30 feet away. The remote control enables you to turn the power on or off, turn the volume up or down, scan for stations, or select any one of the 4 memory preset stations. It's really quite a toy. The reaction to the 730, and in fact all of our new products at the shows, was very favorable. Many of you felt that the improvements made to the 600 were just what it needed, and that the 600 Mark II's salability was therefore that much better. And I got the impression that most of our stores would display or at least keep handy a T100 audio analyzer, as it can be a strong sales tool as well as an attractive product for the more advanced customer. The 730, though, clearly walked away with it. Most of you asked the big question, when can I have one? We ran ads for the 730 and the May issues of the 3 major magazines, and already the mail is tremendous. And by the time this tape reaches you, hopefully you will have had our new products on display for a while. I hope the information I've given you will better enable you to answer your customers' questions. Side B of this cassette, as always, contains demonstration material. Selections this time are again from live recordings made at our sound research centers in New York and Tokyo. As you know, all of our recordings are made with Nakamichi equipment wherever and whenever possible. Mixdowns are performed with 610s and monitored through our amplifiers and reference monitors. All of the microphones used are Nakamichi, and the tape to which you are now listening was duplicated on our real-time duplication facility, which is a fancy name for 20 System 1 rack-mounted 600s that we maintain here in New York for just this purpose. And so, until next time, this is Harren K. Appleman for Nakamichi Spoken Here, with best regards from all of us here at Nakamichi Research, Incorporated.
Down may nights shine you no more. No nights are dark enough for those that in despair their lost fortunes deplore. Night doth but shame disclose. Never may my woes be relieved, since pity is fled, and tears and sighs and groans my weary days, my weary days of our joys have deprived. From the highest spire of contentment my fortune is thrown, and fear and grief and pain for my deserts, are my hope, since hope is gone. Hark, you shadows that in darkness dwell, none to contemplate. that she will right thee never. If thou canst not o'ercome her, will thy lover be thus fruitless ever? Wilt thou be thus abused still, seeing that she will right thee never? If thou canst not o'ercome her, will thy lover be thus fruitless ever? Was I so base that I might not aspire unto those high joys which she holds from me? As they are high, so high is my desire. If she this deny, what can granted be? If she will yield to that which reason is, it is reason's will that love I sit